Aaron Lewis.
All right.
Thanks for being here. This is the Connecticut Convention.
Yes, indeed.
You have been to many Connecticut conventions, and you've done a lot for the Connecticut LP. Tell us about your challenge during the last cycle running for governor. You raised a hell of a lot of signatures. And then what happened?
What happened was the same dog and pony show that all of the Secretary of States typically do. They, first of all, they, either disqualified some of the signatures after the fact,
right.
Did not acknowledge them, didn't properly count them, and
right.
Lo and behold, I was not on the ballot. The real reason that I wasn't on the ballot is because the system is dominated. It's dominated by a two-party mafia.
Yes.
That completely dictates everything that we do, that we think, that we feel, and anyone that opposes how that's done will be rejected, and that's really constitutionally wrong. It's an unlawful act altogether.
I agree with you, and it seems to me, and you've talked about this, that this isn't merely a problem in fulfilling the promise of our Constitution, but it strikes me as an ethical problem. We have a problem in this country of getting people's voices heard generally.
Well, all third parties need to revisit what we are being required to do. I don't know if you're familiar with black codes and black laws after the Emancipation Proclamation.
Yes.
After that, they were making ridiculous laws in our country. The most absurd laws in the world, so that they can continue to perpetuate the system of slavery that they started.
Sure.
For example,
even if slavery itself had been made illegal, the whole system that kept oppression in place was alive and well.
For years after. So, for example, you could not, you didn't have the right to vote as a Black person, right? So this is what they would do once voting became legal for Black people. They will say, these are Black codes. I'm just giving you one example. Well,
yes.
You know what? If your father couldn't vote and your grandfather, we're going to have to disqualify you. Now just think about how ridiculous that is, because they already knew that the father and that the grandfather couldn't vote because they didn't have voting rights. So these were laws put in place to continue to perpetuate the cycle and make it look like we're an equitable society. And so
as a practical matter, nothing can be further from the truth.
Nothing could be further. And it's the same thing with third parties. No third party should have to get ballot access. Every single third party should have someone that's nominated by the party for president, for governor, for mayor, for the U.S. Senate, and that should be it. You know why that should be it? Because that's it with the Republican Party. That's it with the Democratic Party.
Of course it is.
So why are we treated different? And then we have been spoon-fed into believing that we should have to go through all these things. And I'm saying to myself, this is just like black codes. These are just like additional laws that are put on our party to, and on top of that, they're rules that no one in 50 years have been successful at. Even people like Bill Weld and Gary Johnson, who actually had positions in politics, they weren't even able to break through the veil. Even people like, the Ron Pauls, who's, the champion for libertarianism, he himself would have to divorce himself from the party temporarily and run as a Republican in order to get in. That's crazy.
We all remember that. It was heartbreaking, but we all understand why he did it.
It's like the guy years ago, I forget his name, it doesn't come to, but he had to paint himself white. He actually bleached his skin and painted himself white. And this is actual true story. And then he went and joined a club, like a golf club, in a private club in Greenwich, Connecticut. This is a true story, and became one of the guys. You see what I'm saying? And then, of course, when they found out, later that he really wasn't one of the guys, he actually wrote a book about it, which was published and, became a bestseller, and this was everything. But just think about that.
And we act like these things can't happen in 2023, but in fact they do.
The new civil rights matter is regarding voting. It's regarding the entire electoral process. It's regarding who they're trying to keep out. And it's listen, let's give it to them. It's a perfect plan. It's a perfect plan.
Because the Republicans and the Democrats make the rules.
They make the rules, but I've said for me years that in many instances, they're basically one coin with just different sides of the same coin.
Of course they are. So it's a system against the rest of the people.
Yes, and that system is created so that the powers that be, whether it's corporate America that feeds this system, that pays this system to do what they want, the lobbyists, right? It doesn't matter. The system is made to self-perpetuate. And the way that it's made to self-perpetuate is by keeping all third parties out, right? Third parties are demonized and made to look smaller than or feel less than, no different than Black people were made to feel smaller than and less than.
And being disenfranchised, you can't fight back because you don't have access to the levers of power.
Even you don't have access to the levers of power, but then when it even comes to the state and federal levels, most judges, I'm not saying all, because we will get through this at some point because we're not going away, but most judges are part of either the corruption or the plan. And they can't go against the system.
Yeah.
Even when we sued the Secretary of State, the judge, I think, was very, very nice. I think she was intelligent. I think she was favorable and wanted to hear the case. But I think her hands were chained.
Right. And tell us about the case. When was this?
This was for the 2022 gubernatorial election.
Right.
And so it wasn't that long ago.
That's right.
And so we filed the case. We made our case. And of course, the Secretary of State, their lawyers are the Attorney General's office. And they had a very, very weak retort, a weak rebuttal, extremely weak. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter how weak their rebuttal was. They were going to win because they were designed to win. And so that's one of the things about justice in America. When we look at justice, we always think that justice is black and white. It's not black and white.
Right.
It depends on the day. It depends
and it's
on
hard
the person.
work.
It's hard work is not the word. It's beyond hard work because you're fighting a system. Listen, you're fighting a system that's designed to keep you out. Think about what I'm saying. Yeah. You're not fighting.
It's not you against some other guy.
Right. And not even just somebody else. It's a system that's designed to keep you out. So that's what we have to understand is that we're thinking that the system is one that's inclusive. It's not inclusive because if it was inclusive, all parties that are registered parties in America, that are legitimate parties in America, would have to do the same thing. There's no discrimination. Listen, if you look at the stats all around the United States, particularly in the hour that we live right now, the independent space is one of the largest and fastest growing spaces in the United States of America. And those votes are up for grabs. So since the
Republicans and the Democrats don't want anyone having access to those voters.
Listen, why do you think they make these sub parties and they go after the independent, designation? We want to be, given a designation by this independent party, although I'm a Republican, although I'm a Democrat. Why do you think they're trying to gobble up all of the voters that are not even in their party? Because it's a takeover, and they know that they have the secretaries of state on their side to do so. Do you know most people at the Secretary of State has no idea about how third parties work or even how to welcome us?
When these cases come up,
they don't even know what to do.
They don't even know what's going on.
No, and so
it's
the quickest
their
thing,
first fresh look at it.
Yeah, first
completely unfamiliar.
They say, get them out of here. Think about before a woman could vote. If a woman went to vote at the polls, what would happen? Before they were allowed to vote,
they get laughed off the tarmac.
Right. Suppose they stood there and said, "But I have a right. I have a right. I have a right." Then what?
No, then the police would take you away.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The system wasn't designed to.
It was merely to propagate laws that the people in power put there to serve their own interests.
Right. And what broke that? What broke it?
A lot of protesting, getting political power on your side.
Right, and so you're talking about
it took years, decades. decades.
Yeah, you took decades of women saying for, 30, 40, 50 years, I'm a woman and I don't have a voice. I don't have a voice. So think about how many deaf ears that fell on for that long. I think
Millions.
about stuff like that. That's what I'm saying.
Millions.
And then think about our United States Senate, our United States Congress, our New York State Assembly, our Connecticut State Assembly, right? Think about all these thousands of people that are elected officials that could have been big and bold and in the right to say,
course.
I'm
all that we're missing.
Yeah.
All that we're missing out on.
No,
it's a shame. What's our next step?
Well,
what's your next step?
The next step is to continue this mission of making people aware that their vote doesn't count until all of our votes count. And what that means is that until every single person that is a part of whatever party that is a legitimized party in America can go to that poll and vote for the person they want to vote for,
right.
Then our vote doesn't count. You
right.
can't, if you give me the red devil or the blue devil and say, these are your choices, that's democracy. That's not democracy.
Right.
I don't want to vote for the devil.
Because there's nobody representing your values, your interests, right. your political persuasions.
Yeah. But they say, but you know what?
You don't have anything to vote for.
You got the blue devil there, you got the red. This is what they say to us. You got the blue devil, you got the red devil. So you got choice. You do have choice. But I don't want to vote for the devil. It doesn't matter.
Blue or red?
You got a blue or red one. So that makes them less devil. Right?
What's the next step for you personally? You know what I'm asking. Yeah. We all want Aaron Lewis running for governor. We all want that.
Don't we? I'm not opposed to that.
Who am I looking to? We all want Aaron Lewis running for governor. This we want.
I'm not opposed to that whatsoever. I'm taking a little bit of a backdrop to really challenge the system to do the right thing. We could have all wanted, a woman to be in public office prior to the time that woman could vote, but they would first have to set up the infrastructure to make that possible.
Of course.
So I'm really working hard on making people aware of how the system is. The average person understands Democrat and Republican, but has no idea of what's going on behind the scenes.
Where can people go to learn more of what, because you do a lot of important writing on this subject.
Absolutely.
Where can people go to learn more and to read what you've written?
Please check out my blogs at draaronlewis.com. draaronlewis.com. That's easy to remember.
DRAARONLEWIS.com.
That's it.
That is excellent. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you sitting with me and talking about this important stuff. Important stuff.